This is Corner Talk.
What's up, y'all? I'm UFC Pap. This is UFC Zach. This is episode 3 now. And we just got finished with the UFC Houston card this past weekend. How'd you feel about it, man?
Yeah, that was not my favorite card. Not my favorite card at all. The prelims were a little lackluster in my opinion. Shout out Jocelyn Edwards. And then Fluffy had his bad night at the office. So
Yeah, Jocelyn put on a clinic, man. She looked great. Our breakdown of that fight was pretty accurate. We did a pretty good job there.
yeah.
But we're going to just skip the prelims for that. Let's recap the main card. So let's start with the opening fight on the main card, which was Reese versus Pereira. What did you think about this?
I was right about it going the distance, and I was right about Zachary Reese gonna have to fight through some adversity and looking good. I was wrong about Michelle Pereira. I thought he was gonna be completely out of step, and I mean I'm not gonna say he looked exactly like old Pereira. You know, he wasn't doing his flips and flashes and whatnot, but he was having his moments of brilliance that put him on that win streak he was on in the first place.
Yeah, I thought this fight was a blatant robbery. I thought Zachary Reese did more damage, to be honest.
Hey man, I don't want to sound like a hater, all right?
I was shocked that Pereira got the nod, but hey man, you leave it in the hands of the judges, and
I just
you know,
felt like Reese did wear a lot of the damage. That was a big part of it. It was
yeah,
like,
I think Pereira just is so scared of gassing now. He doesn't want to tire out early, so he fights a lot safer now than he used to. No more of the like jumping stuff, no more of the dancing walkouts. And it kind of sucks because that part of his character was actually very entertaining. And
yeah.
now he's kind of fighting like Sean Strickland, which, is a training partner of his, and I get it, but whatever. He got the job done. He won. I'm not going to complain too much about it. This next fight was amazing. What are your thoughts?
I think Jacoby Smith showed out. He definitely had a good bounce back win after a fight where a lot of people, as I said, we got him cheaper this fight because they were starting to write him off just a little bit because he had some adversity against Nico Price. But that's all. He's showing that he grew from it. And still, shout out to Josiah Herrero, coming out, taking this fight short notice against Jacoby Smith. It's
Yeah.
not just any short notice fight.
Yeah, this guy has gotten the short end of the stick so far in his, short UFC time because he was originally supposed to fight JDM on short notice, and then the UFC pretty much gives him another highly touted prospect. So it was definitely, tough for him going in there. But I thought he looked good early. He was landing some decent
I
shots.
like that he wasn't scared to try and shoot a takedown. I wouldn't
Yeah,
have tried to shoot a takedown on him, but
yeah,
it shows that he had confidence in it, and that's honestly that opens up your striking, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah. I thought it was a bold game plan to try to wrestle the NCAA wrestler, but hey, he looked good at first. He took him down. Josiah or Jacoby got back up, and then the second time, I don't know how he did that
That was
handstand
outstanding.
sweep,
That was
but
outstanding.
it just shows the athleticism and explosiveness of Jacoby Smith. And it took like 2 or 3 clean shots to really hurt Harrell, and then a couple of extra shots that there's a
Purely
little bit of
academic.
controversy.
Super
Yeah, there's a
necessary.
little bit of controversy behind, but uh, amazing performance again. Wild that he called out Kevin Holland. I think that's a huge jump way too soon. And I actually saw where DC apparently told him like Kevin Holland will beat your ass. Like let's calm down. Let's fight some guys outside of the rankings for a bit and work our way up slowly. But it was a good fight.
No, I think Jacoby eats Holland. That's a different talk for a different day.
Yeah. Next fight. So we have Sergey Spivak versus Ante Delija. Ante, whatever his name
crap.
is, terrible performance. Extremely disappointed. I thought he was gonna just pressure Spivak. I thought he was gonna be able to get the KO early round 1, if not round 2. And I just thought that Spivak actually looked a lot better than I remember. He went
Definitely
out
a
there.
huge improvement in his striking.
Yeah, he went
It's
out
not
there,
the
was
same
landing
polar
that
bear.
jab. Yeah, I agree. He was landing that jab, and it just seemed like I don't know if Ante's, a little worried or a little more cautious because, he's coming off the knockout loss to Waldo, but it definitely seemed like he was very hesitant in this fight, and Spivak did what he needed to get it done.
Yeah, I'm glad that it was a huge 180 of his typical game plan of just like, wrestling and making you get back up. So
Yeah.
it's good to see that he's aware, and he's only 31. He's going into his prime right now. He's gonna improve in his striking. I love to see in a wide open division what that can lead to.
Yeah, for sure. Next fight, I was extremely surprised at how this fight played out. Dan Ige had never been finished before in the UFC, um, and Melky Costa just happened to be the guy to do it. I mean, Melky looked good, off rip. I was surprised that Dan Ige was clinching and trying to take him down early. You don't really see that from Dan Ige as a game plan often. And Melky Costa just landed that beautiful spinning, back kick and landed it perfect. And I thought it was a bit of an early stoppage in my opinion, but I'm sure the fight probably would have got stopped anyway because his eye and nose was absolutely smashed. How'd you feel about it?
Uh, and the breakdown I said last week, I said for him to avoid wrestling with Ige because that'll lead to gassing. So I think that's what led to maybe Ige. Ige had the same thought, like I'm gonna wrestle this kid, drag him into deep waters, show him what time it is. I also did say for Melky to show he shows that he has great kicks. Let's use those kicks. So I love
Yeah.
that he's got two head kick KOs in a row now. That's outstanding.
Yeah,
You know,
he was spamming that head kick right off rip. I was like, dude, and it seemed like it was bothering Dan. Obviously, taking those shots on the forearms isn't fun, but
No.
every time he would land one clean, I just was like, man, he might break Dan's arm because, Dan was just I think a couple of them actually kind of clipped him. They kind of went around, but impressive performance by Costa, man. I gotta give it up to the
Absolutely.
guy. This next fight, Jeff Neal versus Medic. What were your thoughts?
I was wrong. I was wrong. I thought Jeff Neal was gonna, do Jeff Neal things, but Eros Medic did Eros Medic things. And impressive knockout. Very impressive knockout. He looked great. I hate to say it, but this looks like the end of not the end of Jeff Neal, but this is the end of maybe his top 5, top 10. I don't know his exact rank, but his top rankings.
Yeah, I was extremely wrong on this fight as well. I thought that Jeff Neal was just going to be too much of a veteran. I thought he was going to be a little more surgical with the striking, and it just took, the first big shot by Medic to absolutely flatline him. So, obviously, hindsight, it was probably a little too soon after the Carlos Prates knockout for him to take this fight. But I'm not really sure what's next for Jeff Neal going forward. At this point, he's just going to kind of be a gatekeeper, and hopefully he doesn't stop fighting. Hopefully the UFC doesn't cut him. I don't think they will, but yeah, I don't really know what's next for him. But
Yeah.
let's move on to the main event. All right, how'd you feel about this one?
Not very good. Not very good at all. You were right, so that's cool. But I was wrong, and that's not cool. Fluffy, his streak came to an end to freaking Sean Strickland.
Yeah, I obviously in the breakdown I said, dude, that jab and those teep kicks were just going to interrupt his rhythm, and that's exactly what happened. It just looked like every time Fluffy was trying to get close, he was trying to pressure Sean. Sean would just he wasn't really spamming the teep like he usually does, but he was using it every time he was pushed up against the cage to just get a little bit of space and then circle out. Get a little more space, circle out. And obviously same thing with the jab. Anytime they were in the middle of the octagon, like he just hit him with the jab. He was splitting the guard very well. And, he caught Fluffy with that knee. It honestly was an odd clash because it was like they were both kind of in the middle of an exchange.
It
And
looked like there
then
was a
that
time where he
one
said something
knee.
about a head clash or something. So there was a lot of going in and stuff that Fluffy was trying to advance and do, Fluffy things. Tried to hold him up to the cage, get him down, but it was weird. Sean Strickland, he started seeming like he would win even the clinch and wrestling exchange. It's not weird, but just where you would think
Yeah.
his best area of success would be. Strickland was able to intelligently get out of it and almost seem superior on the gate.
Yeah, I was upset that Fluffy lost. Obviously, I was rooting for him, but I won a little coin thanks to Sean. I took the KO or decision, and the money line, so it was nice. But now we have UFC Mexico coming up. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this card?
I think that it's interesting. It's interesting. We have a lot of contender series people looking to come and show out. I think that's also interesting with all the political stuff going on in Mexico right now with there's like just war everywhere, but thankfully as we found out earlier that it's at least pretty safe there. They're next to like a base.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one good thing. But I think that this is a card that is just a lot of youth meeting veterans,
Yeah, a
and
lot of contender
there's gonna be a lot
series.
of passing of the guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Let's uh let's go into the first matchup of the night. So it's gonna be Wes Schultz versus Damian Pinas. I know that guy probably hated life in school, bro. I'm sure he got.
He's
I
from
don't know. He's built
Aruba,
like
so
a.
I don't know if they call it a penis there. They might call it just like my dong or something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, he's a very physically imposing guy, so I'm sure not too many people picked on him. But what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I uh I think that so Penis is the favorite.
Hmm.
A lot of people are thinking that he'll probably knock out Wes Schultz. I think that his grappling hasn't been tested really, and he's going against a guy who, he has impressive submissions. So I think that there's a lot of value in Schultz submission. I but if it's not that, then it's the straight shots from Penis that's gonna get the job done.
Yeah, I think that from what I've seen with Wes Schultz on Contender Series and some of his regional fights, um, I think the striking is where he lacks a bit at this level. And I think with somebody like Damien, there's going to be a lot of power coming his way, a lot of big shots. And maybe, he gets clipped, but he grabs a leg or something and he's able to take it into his own world because I do think he probably has the grappling advantage here. But
He got
as far as
knocked
my.
out by. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
He got knocked out by Ansar Abdul Malik on his first Contender Series run. So it's like I hopefully and he made it into the second round. And now
Yeah.
Mansoor, that is someone with very good grappling. So
Yeah.
that's I
I
like to
just,
think that he learns from that.
yeah, I just think that Damien is going to be too much too soon. He's going to be extremely physical in there. Um, he's got a slight reach advantage. They both have about the same professional experience, but Wes is pushing 30, which no offense, but that is a little bit older. Damien is 23. He's young. He's hungry. He's looked great so far in the Contender Series, and if I had to go with a prediction, I would say Damien is gonna get a round one or round two KO.
Okay. That's not I definitely see it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next matchup. We have Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. What's your prediction on this?
Uh Probably Francis Marshall decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's between that or the submission in my mind the way I see it going. But I do think he's too inconsistent to be as huge of a favorite as he is. Granted, I don't think Eric Silva's gonna necessarily beat him, but I don't know. 700 seems huge for Francis Marshall.
Yeah, I think that youth is the key here. Eric Silva is pushing 40.
100, yeah.
he uh he only, has 12 fights professionally, which is kind of insane for a guy at that age. Um I don't know what's kept him out, from fighting for so long. I don't know if it's been injuries or whatever the case may be. We know, he has really good grappling. I just think that Francis Marshall also has good grappling, and typically when grapplers are matched up, it takes place on the feet, and I think Francis Marshall is the better striker here by far. So I definitely see Francis Marshall winning this fight using the hands. I think the KO is probably likely, but I will say Eric Silva's pretty tough. I think, especially at this weight class, I think we might see a decision here. Um, but as far as predictions go, I'm gonna have to say Francis Marshall by KO or decision.
That's an excellent point, bringing up that they're gonna want to probably keep it on the feet because they are both such good ground people.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Eric Silva, gets cracked, gets sloppy, shoots in, and maybe Francis, locks up that neck or something. But let's move
All
on
right.
to the next fight. Oh, sorry. There we go. We have Sofia Montenegro versus Ernesta Caracate. What are your thoughts on this one?
So I think for that fight, I think Ernesta is gonna be the more rangy, more active fighter, and
Mhm.
that'll lead to a Karakati decision. I think that Sophia, she's not gonna be busy enough.
Yeah. I think my problem with this fight, breaking it down, is if you look at the size difference, like I know 3 inches, 3 inches is a lot if you ask some people, but 3 inches in height, couple inches reach. I just think that Karakate's, she's gonna be significantly bigger, and depending on how this fight goes, I know Sophia is extremely aggressive. In her last, performance in the Contender Series, like that was one of the best female fights I've seen. Period. Not even just Contender Series, just in the UFC, and I was extremely impressed. She fought her ass off. So who knows? Maybe she's just gonna be a bit too aggressive for Karakate to really, get her rhythm going. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a sweaty split decision. Um, but I'm gonna have to pick Sophia. I'm gonna have to pick the Mexican here because obviously Mexican crowd in Mexico City. I think
If
this
it
is her
comes
fight
down
to
to a
win.
close fight, you want those judges on your side. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is her fight to win. I think the UFC, obviously knows what they're doing with this matchup. So that's gonna be my pick for this one.
Okay.
So the next fight, oh, sorry. The next fight we have is Christian Canones versus Chris Moutinho. What are your thoughts on this?
I think probably Christian KO. I think he's bigger. I think he's got the power difference. I think you don't want to start making a name off yourself off of being the guy that's too tough for his own good, as it
Mm-hmm.
feels like Chris Moutinho has started to do.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos making it to the UFC twice. He's fought Malcolm Wellmaker and Sean O'Malley. Those are huge names. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's given him a big name for being a prelim fighter. But I think, as you said, being bigger, it does have its advantages. I think Christian will get it done.
Yeah, I actually got to meet Christian Canones when I went to UFC Noche at the Sphere. I bumped into him, super friendly guy. Um, I will say that so far his UFC run hasn't been, I would say, like that impressive. Granted, he's gotten, some tough matchups. I just think that, and I mean, I guess you could say that about Chris Moutinho also, but like losing by submission to Honey Barcelos and then losing, by submission prior to that, it just shows that he has some holes in his game. And, here in a few, we have a interview with Angel Pacheco, but, Angel was going on about how Chris has extremely slick jujitsu. And I actually think that this is another
Opportunity
situation.
for him to get a submission.
Yeah, I think, he's had some
Because
really tough.
he had those 5 finishes before they brought him back to fight Wellmaker. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think he's had some really tough striking matchups so far in his UFC fights. That I think this fight, if he wants to go with a bit more of a, I don't want to say safer game plan, but I think that the obvious path of victory is to try to submit Christian Quinones. And I think that Chris Matinho has the skill to do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Matinho actually submits him this time.
That's an excellent point. And plus, Chris being the southpaw striker, it gives him different angles fighting against Christian Quinones. So who knows? He might not even necessarily be at the striking disadvantage. He has had extremely difficult striking matchups in his UFC run. And,
Right.
I mean, Sean O'Malley make anyone look silly. Wellmaker make anyone go to sleep. So there's no shame in those.
Yeah, and like Chris Matinho, his striking is good. Like, granted, he got knocked out in both those fights, but his striking
Even that
is
Sean
good.
O'Malley one is questionable. That was,
Yeah, but I
you
mean,
coulda
he's got
still let him
Chris
keep
boxing.
going.
Yeah, he's got Chris boxing. I think he'll be able to stand with Christian. I don't think he's at risk of getting brutally KO'd or anything here. And I think that his game plan, if he decides to grapple here, I think there's going to be a clear skill gap. So I'm excited to see how this one goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, this next matchup, we have Eileen Perez versus Macy Chasson. I got to meet Eileen Perez in
Lucky you.
LA. Yeah, I got to meet her in LA last year. She was not nice or friendly. Granted, it was just like it was a quick, I was getting in an elevator, she was getting in the elevator, and I was talking to somebody, and she just shoulder checked me hard as shit. And I was like, yo, like I turned to see like who the fuck just shoulder checked me. And then I saw it was her, and I was just like, I'll shut the fuck up. But I think this is an interesting matchup because, again, going back to height differences, I think that going against somebody tall like Macy, who also has good grappling, it's going to be tough for her. I think if they end up in a clinch, if they end up against the fence, I think Macy will be able to stay on the feet. I think she'll be able to defend the takedown. Now, if she does, get some slick shots off in the middle of the cage, obviously taller people are a little easier to take down. But I don't know, man. I think on the feet, Eileen Perez probably is going to piece her up. I think she has more volume. She kind of does just enough to get ahead in the numbers as far as the striking goes. And I think that Macy on the feet, she kind of doesn't. She's very, jab, occasional elbow. But if this hits the mats, I think, Macy has a chance to lock something up. But I think most of this fight's going to take place against the cage. I think that Eileen Perez is going to win probably by a decision. What's your thoughts on this?
I think Eileen Perez decision. I just see it differently though. I feel like she has the wrestling edge. I feel like Macy's last fight, pretty sure it was her last fight, she was very susceptible to being held against the cage. And she lost to Santos by decision that she was just wrestle fucked pretty much. And I feel like whenever I think of Eileen Perez, I think of a grappler, and Macy Chasson, I think of a striker. So it's like I don't know. This is what makes MMA fun, and the judge is fun because it's like, two different people completely see two different fights between two different fighters.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. Excited to see how it turns out. You know that Eileen Perez is definitely going to twerk a bit if she wins. So I
That's
know
why we want Perez to win.
I don't, but yeah, I do think she wins. All right, next matchup we have Ryan Gondra versus Jose Medina. What are your thoughts on this one?
Just kind of like I was saying earlier, you don't want to build a reputation
Oh,
on taking
hold on.
damage or being
There
that
you go.
tough guy.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Sorry, you don't want to build a reputation on taking damage and being a tough guy,
Mhm.
And Jose Medina, it's like I don't know. Every time I watch him fight, I feel like I'm watching like my uncle fight or something.
Why is that?
I don't know. He's kind of crazy. He's kind of crazy, and he's just like tough. I don't know. I don't even have like a
Ex-
tough uncle.
ex- Extremely tough, I will say that. Yeah, I was actually super impressed with Ryan Gondra here, or in his Dana White Contender Series fight. Um, Obviously, both of these guys are hard hitters. Jose Medina can definitely take a beating. He's kind of got the short end of the stick also in his matchups in the UFC so far. But I know he's been grinding. He's been putting in a lot of work. I know he's spent some time at Extreme Couture. Uh, I'm excited to see, what he's been working on with Eric Nixick. I don't know how he's gonna approach this fight. Maybe he's just gonna use that chin of his and go in there, bite down, and just swing. But it's
That's
I
ill
don't know.
advised.
I don't have a good read on this fight, to be honest. I don't have a specific side that I'm leaning, but I know it's gonna be a banger. I know somebody's probably getting knocked out, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna play the interview here in a few seconds, but Santiago Luna, Angel Pacheco. I'm excited for this fight. And here's the interview with Angel Pacheco. Hope you enjoy it.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you. You're our first fighter interview so far since we started the pod, so
Oh, cool.
excited about that. We appreciate your time. Hopefully travel and everything has been going well for you.
Yeah, yeah. We've been out here for about 2 weeks. Obviously the stuff in Mexico recently just happened out in Guadalajara, Dad? Guadalajara, and
Mhm.
that's crazy and scary, obviously. But right now we're safe. I think
How's the
obviously the
city
European.
looking? Like where the venue's going to be at?
It's pretty safe. There's a lot of military either way. It's just there's a lot of cops, military, National Guard. We're literally our hotel is right by their like base, so we're sitting in a pretty good spot in that sense. But obviously anything can happen, so you never know. We were just kind of told, head on a swivel, don't be traveling alone, and you know, being apparent Americans. So there's that.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. It's a cautious territory right now. We're glad to know that you guys are able to be safe and you're close to the base and everything. Definitely don't want to see nothing popping off this weekend. Only in the cage.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm definitely running the other way. So if I hear a shooting.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to start off. Obviously, you came through Contender Series. How did you feel after, even though you lost the fight, when Dana said he was still going to sign you?
Yeah, I was on the phone actually with one of my buddies that lives in Vegas. He actually came to the fight and watched in the crowd at the Apex. I think we got like 4 people to go or something like that. But he came and watched. And we're on the phone, or maybe what? I can't remember if he was at home or if it was in person. But either way, um, I was on the phone with him talking to him about the fight and stuff, and I didn't realize it had been dropped and all sorts of stuff. And I was talking to him about it, and all of a sudden he's like, dude, you just got signed. You just got signed." I'm like, "Oh my God." I was obviously super excited. Um, I got off the phone with him, called my wife right away. She was in Vegas as well. She was watching. So yeah, I was excited. I was really surprised, honestly, because that's pretty unique, pretty rare. I think I was the
That's
second
super
fighter.
exciting in itself. It sets a
Yeah,
great tone that it's your style is something that people want to see, win or lose. That you are something that's very watchable. You know, it sets a
yes,
tone for your
definitely.
career as a whole.
No,
Yeah, and
yes, definitely.
even though it was a loss, it still obviously is doing a lot for your career. So
Yeah, no,
that
100%. I agree.
no, you're good.
Santiago Luna, he's undefeated and he's known for his pressure. What do you think is the biggest hole you see in his game? Obviously, he faced some very early adversity in that last fight that he had. Um,
Yeah.
do you think that it's that forward move? I personally, not a UFC fighter, I see that forward pressure being what made him fall from that jab.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of things with that fight, Lee did really good. Like he was getting him to feint, or he was feinting a lot. He was showing level changes and stuff. And he was getting him to kind of bite on his feints a little too hard and then lining him up and hitting him pretty hard. Uh, from my understanding, Lee's a pretty hard puncher. I think I'm a pretty hard puncher myself as
I'd
well.
agree. I'd
I
agree.
think I think for sure it's a dangerous fight just because you've seen the fight with Lee as well. Like he does have power himself and he has the ability to wrestle as well. So like if he does get in some trouble, I just gotta be a little cautious in that sense. But as for his biggest holes, I would say it is still his striking. I'm sure he's improved vastly on it. Like normally, especially young, hungry guys, they're gonna always improve um in those like areas, especially after a fight, right? But with that said, I think the levels of striking is still going to show, and I don't think it's going to be a one-sided fight on the feet. Obviously, I just think I'll be able to edge out what I need to do and find my shots.
Definitely
And
earned his respect.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%.
Absolutely. I love the
Yeah.
confidence. I love to hear it.
So this is the second fight on your deal. First fight with the new Paramount deal. Does it feel any different than your debut?
Yeah, my debut was kind of a weird situation. I was like mentally in like a weird spot. Um, it's like my whole entire life since I was 14, I wanted to be in the UFC and fight in the UFC. And
Right.
my wife ended up going through a miscarriage, like literally the week before the fight, and it just mentally messed me up a lot. And I don't like making excuses or whatever, but
No,
the
it's not an excuse at all. That's mentally weighing. I myself,
yeah,
I'm a family man. That's unimaginable.
yeah. So, and like I said,
ESPN, watch me take it from the top.
I don't like I said, I don't like to like look at things and have excuses because there's plenty of guys that probably have gone through that same thing and they end up winning their fight, right? Um, but I just remember even in my last sparring session, like breaking down and being in tears and stuff like that, just because I was so emotionally messed up. It was a weird feeling. It's like I didn't care. It was the strangest thing. Even after the fight, I think I kind of battled some depression back
Hmm.
at home. My wife kind of noticed it and called it, not called it out, but just kind of told me. And I was kind of in denial about it, I think. That's sad, you know. But this time
Understandable.
around, yeah, this time around though, things are great at home. We actually ended up having a rainbow baby, so we had our
Oh,
son Antonio recently, about 10 months ago.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congrats.
My headspace is just in a better place, and I think I'll be able to perform to my best ability. You know, uh, obviously Santiago's a very talented guy. If he beats me, it's because he's better than me. That's the only reason he
Mhm.
beats me. You know, and I know that fully going forward in this fight. So it's a good feeling to know like I don't have that extra baggage on my mind or anything like that. So, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, and well, with that being said, with you mentioning your mental space in the last fight and everything, are you going out there? Is your mental space on this being like, I must go out there and win, or is this purely performance? Are you aiming to, like your contender series fight, give us something that's like, I gotta watch this guy fight,
Yeah, no, definitely. First and
Not
foremost, the
not just nut
new,
hugging the whole time, or
yeah,
something. Just
first and foremost, the new, like system of like awarding the fighters, right? Like if you get a finish, it's 25,000,
I love
and then
that.
if you're like performance of the night, it's 100,000. That's huge for me. As you know, I'm on my first contract in the UFC. If I were to like get 100,000,
Life changing
that's
money.
life changing for me and my family. Um, Obviously, I'd rather go out there hit him twice than you go to sleep. Uh, but you never know with fighting. Obviously, I'm willing to go wherever the fight goes.
Mhm.
Like the song I walk out to is talking about a guy that's saying he's like Gamecock. He's going out there to die, or he's prepared to die. And that's kind of how I've always fought. Uh, and even like before, like long time ago when I first started fighting, my dad had told me like, son, all you have to do is fight once in front of Dana White, and he's gonna sign you. And I ended up fighting, losing even, and he was right.
It's gonna be
So
surreal.
yeah, yeah. So it's that's kind of the way I'm seeing it. Obviously, the performance and winning is the most important thing because you can't just keep losing in the UFC. They're gonna cut you at some point. Um, but your last fight's always your most important fight or your most recent fight. Anything coming up is the most important, right? So the goal is to win. Um, but if you've ever seen me fight, I don't just wrestle people, hug them,
Yeah,
and finish 'em. Every win I have is by finish, and every loss I've had is by decision because somebody's either big enough and strong enough or skilled enough to hold me down and prevent the fight from happening. So yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Warrior spirit.
yeah.
So, so you train with New England Cartel under Coach Tyson. How's that room different than some of the other gyms that you've been in and out of in your career?
Yeah, so actually, my home gym is in Minnesota. I
Hmm.
train with Brock Larson at Start BJJ, and at this camp, actually, I stayed out in Minnesota. Just
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of like things with my kid and stuff like that. But my last couple camps, I go out to New Hampshire and train with those guys. Speaking about their room, it's a bunch of professionals. Even the guys that are amateurs, like they're there on time, and I think that just shows from their coaching, which is Tyson and at the time when I was going there, Dupree and Ruben um, and Jake. I think that's like just kind of reflects on their coaching, right? Um, where sometimes my back home gym, a lot of the amateurs will show up late or whatever. Even myself, to be honest, I tend to kind of be late sometimes to things. I'm not
Hmm.
proud of it, obviously, but um, I'm kind of like that. But when I was out there, everybody's punctual, everybody's on time. They're all professional. They're all super talented. Also, like there wasn't like an easy round or a rest round really. Yeah, I love that room. I think probably next time around, I might go out there and work with them a little bit more. I do enjoy the room. I enjoy like guys like Chris, everybody else, working hard and pushing each other. I know their rooms kind of changed a little bit with Rob being out in TriStar now, um, and Tom moving to Denver, but there's still like some solid guys obviously out there. Uh, and the biggest thing about that room too is they're all pretty close to my weight class, either 35ers or 45ers. So it's kind of a smaller gym, which is great. To where my home gym, like sometimes I'll go with Joey Hart, and he's a 170 pounder, but he's also like 6'4", and he's clinching
Right.
me, just killing me. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is terrible.
Can't get past the
So
spring.
yeah, yeah. So it's just different looks and things like that. So, but yes, I love that gym. I love Tyson. I love being out there with his family. I stay with his family, so I appreciate all those guys, and especially Tyson for letting me go out there and be around his family. It's a pleasure.
Nice, nice. Yeah, to
Awesome.
caveat off of that, training with Chris. Now that you guys are both in the UFC, what do you guys take away from each other?
Oh man, like Chris, uh, from the day I met him, I like vibe with him. He's just a very laid back, cool dude. We
Mhm.
both like anime a lot and stuff like that. I got to like bond over those sort of things. As for like training wise and learning from him, he's got really deceiving. Like he never uses it. Like he's kind of like me in the fights where he like doesn't grapple much. But he has really good grappling. He has good wrestling. He has good
Mhm.
jujitsu, especially. He's kind of a pain in the butt to grapple with and deal with on the ground, whether he's on top or on bottom. He's a dangerous dude. Striking wise too, he's improved quite a bit. I wish he used a little bit more head movement. Um,
Mm.
but aside from that, like he will pressure, pressure, pressure. Very similar, actually, like you guys were saying, my opponent, he's just gonna be in your face the whole time. And if you can't take that pressure, you get broken down and beaten up. But yeah, Chris is a phenomenal fighter. I'm excited for him as well. He's got a big fight coming up too this Saturday.
Hell yeah, we're excited about that. I actually reached out to Chris, but he didn't respond yet. So
Yeah,
I am
he
excited for
rarely
both of your guys'
responds
fights.
like that. Yeah. No, I'm excited for him. I'm very hyped for his fight as well.
So speaking on Luna's style and preparations for this camp, what have you made, if any, changes to adapt to that style? Like, do you feel like you might need to brawl the boxer in a sense, or box the brawler rather? Try and make it more of a dog fight rather than a technical fight, or what's
Yeah.
going through the Pachenko mind?
I mean, it's like it's a hard read, right? Like, you never really know until you're in there fighting the guy. Honestly, it's just a weird, unknown until you start to like engage with each other, right? Like, there's been times where like I start and I'm like thinking I'm gonna find my jab and find my range, and it just doesn't work out. So then I have to kind of fight, like brawl, like you're saying. I honestly uh, don't think it would be that necessarily. I think I will have to play with fire a little bit early, stay nice and low, stay ready for the shots and stuff like that. But um, I it might be dumb, and that might be part of the reason I got dropped in the Contender Series fight. But I've always kind of been I don't care about people's power necessarily. Like I've always had the mindset of like you hit me hard, I'm gonna hit you harder kind of thing. Um,
I like
obviously,
it. I like it.
yeah, I obviously have to be like aware about my defense in the sense of where my hand placement is and stuff like that when I'm punching with him because he does have power and he has put guys away. So I'm very aware of all these things and I understand like he's a dangerous guy, but I honestly think I'm gonna do my best to outbox him, out kickbox him, um, and he will eventually start to wrestle and kind of be ready either to stop that takedown or build back up and work back up to my feet.
Then as soon as he shoots, he's like, I know. It's like you're not
Yeah,
liking this anymore.
yes, exactly. Because I do believe he's going to come out and try to knock me out and try to beat me up in that sense. He's a quick guy, he's an athletic guy, an explosive guy, but I honestly believe once I start touching him, uh, his game plan will change pretty drastically. Um, I just have to make sure not to make stupid decisions, give him my back, or give him positions where he's going to be able to kind of ride out the time and things like that. Uh, but as for like training, being ready for him, it's a lot of the same things I used to do very well, but I've kind of like moved away from them a little bit just because of like I big part of it is I haven't fought in a while, but just trying new things in the gym and like like learning new things and trying them out a little bit too much in my opinion. So just kind of getting back to the basics, butt scooting, getting into the cage, coming back up, wrestling up if I need to, um, and then
Maybe try the
obviously
Carlos
boxing.
Prates method. Start. Oh, you're wrestling, huh? You're wrestling.
Yeah,
Might
yeah.
work. Yeah.
So
So yeah, no,
going off, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I was just gonna
Uh,
say, yeah, it's a lot of them more the same, pretty much, and just the things I know I'm good at that I can prevent him from kind of taking advantage of the time.
Excellent.
y- yeah, so I was gonna say stylistically, where do you see yourself with the edge?
Definitely the striking, definitely
Okay.
the boxing. He is a good boxer, like I said. It's not like he's bad. I just think I'm gonna reach him a little bit quicker than, or I think I'm gonna be able to hit him. I think he might be physically quicker than me, but I believe my timing and my experience is gonna show in this fight.
He's
Nice.
a young guy. He's still got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I only have a few more questions. So no, you're a father of two now. Since becoming a father, has that kind of changed how you approach fighting, or has it really affected anything as far as training or preparing for big fights like this?
Yeah, for the fighting question, I wish, or my wife wishes, I could probably say it differently, but
Mm,
no, it's weird. Like, obviously, I love my children to death, and I would never want to be like seriously injured or anything like that. But um, it doesn't. I don't know. It's weird. I
Because
don't know
you're
how
all
to
right.
explain
Daddy's
it
out
to you.
there making money.
Yeah,
He's
and
doing what he
the
got
way the
to.
way I see it is kind of a sacrifice I'm making to try to provide for them, right? Um, that's a scary aspect, obviously. Like I would never want to leave them, you know. Uh,
mhm,
but unfortunately for them, I feel like the day that I don't feel that way when I fight, I won't be able to fight anymore. I'll probably have to hang it up because if I can't do that, what's the point? I'm never going to be world champion if I can't be willing to go that far, because these other guys are willing to go that far, if they're
right.
really trying to be champions. As for training wise, uh, not necessarily. My wife is very good at like she'll take care of our son. Right now, like I said, he's 10 months, but she's been working at home with him for a while now. Right now, even she's got both of the kids and she works a full-time job from home. But normally I take
He's the
Alessia
rock at
just
home.
because, yeah, she's a superstar. She helps me a lot. But normally, like on the noon practices and stuff, I take Alessia with me to the gym. She loves the gym. She's very close to getting her first new belt as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. She's a 4-year-old little
Nice.
girl. Um, but yeah, no, so I can take her with to the gym, henceforth why I'm sometimes late to practice. Uh,
Right.
but uh, but yeah, no, I'm very blessed and very lucky that my wife, helps me out in that sense. Like she doesn't make me take him and like have him screaming and crying the whole time while we're in practice and stuff. So yeah. So training wise, not much has changed. Um, obviously there are some like times where like the kids are super sick or something, and something might happen where I have to go alone, or like just situations change and something might happen. But for the most part, especially for this camp, I didn't miss any practice. Like nothing came up to the point where it was like I can't train or whatever the situation might be.
Hmm.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when your kids get a little bit older and they're able to really understand and watch your fighting, is there anything specifically that you want them to take away from that?
Uh, yeah, I think just, follow your dreams, Like I'm from Wilmer, Minnesota. There's never been a UFC fighter out of Wilmer, Minnesota. I was the first and only that I know of, at least. I guess I
Hmm.
can't 100% say that, but I've never heard of a guy get into the UFC from my hometown. Um, and, I'm sure people, when I told them when I first started wanting to be a fighter, like, they're probably like, okay, yeah, Angel, you're gonna get to the UC someday. And it's not the traditional route, obviously, but I'm here and I'm living my dream. So I think it's more so like telling them to go for it, you know, and don't die with regrets. Like if I never tried, I would be eventually someday in a deathbed and be like, man, I wish I would have tried to get to the UFC or at least fought or whatever the case might be. Um,
Hmm.
I'm very blessed for having like, parents that have like supported me in that sense as well. Uh, they, anytime I said something, like my dad was never like, "Oh, that's too expensive" or something. It was like, "How am I gonna get this done? How am I gonna pay for it?"
Awesome.
Yeah. So like I remember one year I went to a ringside tournament for boxing as an amateur, and I told him I wanted to go. And he pretty much figured it all out. My mom ended up going with me, and then his vehicle broke down out there, and
Hmm.
it was just a disaster. He ended up buying a Tahoe out in Kansas and bringing it back to Minnesota, but it was just a disaster. But he's never complained about it. Sorry.
Well, no,
Awesome.
that's the
Yeah,
stuff that gets you into it for sure. Knowing that you had a family that supported you the whole time, and that's like
yeah,
you never once had to doubt in yourself. It lets you keep your eye on the prize.
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of a crybaby, obviously, but
No,
yeah,
dude, that's
he's
awesome.
never. he's never complained about that stuff. And like he spent so much like money sending me to like jujitsu or whatever the case was, he just figured it out. And it's not like we were well off, we weren't super rich. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich. So yeah.
And I mean, look at today. I heard you not trying to be too nosy or nothing. I heard you say something about your dad over there. He's still there today doing it. That's what I love about it.
Yeah. No, he was my first boxing coach, and he's still my boxing coach right now. So yeah,
That's awesome, man. That's
he'll be
awesome.
Love
cornering
that.
me this Saturday, so.
Love that, man. I'm excited to see it. So for this last little segment, I just want you to give one word for every question that I'm going to give you. It's just a few, and I just want to see what kind of comes to your mind when I tell you these questions. So
Alright.
finish prediction. If you get a finish, how do you do it? All right.
Knockout.
If it goes to decision, what is the fight going to look like?
Him very bloody.
All right.
I love it.
One word to describe your opponent,
Raw talent.
and one word to describe yourself.
All heart.
All right. And the last question, when you get time to headline your first UFC event, where would you like to headline at?
Oh man, that's a hard
Going
one.
to Minnesota.
I would love. Yes. It's hard though. There's so many places in the world. But yeah, honestly, probably Minnesota. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm in
winning
the
World
UP.
Cup.
I'm all for a card coming to Minnesota. That's
Yeah.
not too far from me.
Awesome.
Yes.
Do you have anything else for him, Zach?
No, these been awesome. Thank you again for coming on and talking with us.
Yeah, no, appreciate
Yeah,
you guys
man.
reaching.
We really appreciate your time, and we're wishing you best of luck. We hope you get that knockout finish that you want, and we're excited for the fight.
All right, thank you guys. You have a good night.
Thank you, man.
Take it
Yep,
easy.
you as well. All right, and we're back. We hope you enjoyed that interview. Thank you again to Angel Pacheco. I'm excited for this fight. I think it's going to be a banger. I'm excited for both these guys to, prove that they belong in the UFC. And yeah, man, this is one of the fights on the main card that I'm really looking forward to. How about you?
Oh, I'm super excited. Angel Pacheco's super nice guy. This is a huge opportunity, huge fight for him against Luna and Luna's backyard. Definitely can't wait. These guys are gonna throw down.
Hell yeah. All right, on to the next fight. We have Imanol Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. How do you think this fight goes?
I think Rodriguez looked good in Contender Series. Borjas, I'm just not a Borjas fan, not personally. He's a little too low volume for me. Doesn't get busy enough. And
Yeah.
I think that even though he has shown that he is tough to put away, I think Rodriguez gets the KO.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm definitely leaning Imanol here. I think that it's probably going to be I'm gonna say a decision because Kevin Borjas is pretty tough.
Yeah.
I think that Imanol training with DC and working on his wrestling when he already has extremely crisp striking. He's only going to get better. Every fight that we're going to see from this point on is he's going to be levels above the previous one, and I'm excited to see him prove that he belongs in the UFC after the Ultimate Fighter because he had some pretty good performances on there as well. So I'm excited for this one, and I'm going to probably say my official prediction is going to be Imanol Rodriguez by decision.
All right.
All right, next fight. We have Edgar Chairez versus Felipe Bunes, I think is how you say his last name.
Felipe Buns. I'm kidding.
Hey, he said it, Felipe, not me. Please, beat him up. Beat him up. Don't beat me up. I actually am a big fan of Edgar. I got to watch him at the Sphere as well. He always puts on exciting fights. He has extremely slick jiu-jitsu, and he has some pretty good striking. Like those kicks up the front that he throws are always dangerous. I think that because he's going against another grappler, this fight's probably predominantly going to take place on the feet. But again, man, if this goes to decision, we have Edgar Chairez, a Mexican in Mexico, against a Brazilian dude. I just think that as long as he's not getting, dominated, I think this should be his fight to win. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Felipe has been knocked out by Josh Van. Yeah, that's not a bad person. If I'm picking someone to get knocked out by, the world champion sounds like a good person to have that excuse to say knock me out. I think that you hit the nail on the head. This two submission specialists that they're gonna want to stay out of each other's wheelhouse. They're gonna keep it standing. I think if anything, Felipe will probably be most persistent to get it to the ground.
Okay. Why do you think
I
that?
I don't know. I feel like in jiu-jitsu it's different. Like, granted, MMA grappling is different than jiu-jitsu, but I feel like, you have that age, you start having those years on the mat. If I'm oh, I thought Felipe was like 37 or something.
Um,
36. Yeah, he's 36 years old.
Damn, who the
Yeah.
fuck made these graphics?
Like, once you start getting those years on the mat, I feel like I would not want to be the younger Chirez, who is, while he's probably definitely put in the work, definitely more, I feel, in the MMA sphere than just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Being part of this newer generation and whatnot. It's I feel like I wouldn't want to be in the old head jiu-jitsu guy's wheelhouse.
Yeah. I just think that, if this doesn't hit the mat and it's not, just grappling, I think Edgar Chavez just is going to have the slicker kickboxing. I think that he's got a nice jab, and I think he's going to do the most damage on the feet. So I think this is his fight to win.
Yeah, agree.
All right, next fight. We have Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green. Daniel Zellhuber is coming off a loss to Michael Johnson by decision, and then prior to that, Esteban Rubovic, another decision, but that was at the Sphere as well. That was a good fight. I just think that sometimes Daniel Zellhuber, when he starts to face adversity,
He gets in his head.
yeah, he gets in his head, and it just seems like he kind of succumbs to the pressure. Being in that moment, granted he's young. Some of those fights he was even younger, obviously. I just think that he's gaining experience. He's been training with some tough guys, and Bobby Green, he's at the end of his career. But Bobby, he's coming off a decent win with Lance Gibson Jr. Nothing spectacular in that fight, but he got the job done, so you can't be disappointed with that, going home with the dub. I just think that Daniel Zellhuber, he has a significant reach advantage. I think if he keeps this, at distance, Bobby's going to do that bob and weave head movement.
Heads down.
And if Zellhuber connects right on the chin, like, it could be lights out, But, Bobby is still very elusive. He definitely has power in his hands. I just think that Daniel Zellhuber, he's young. Again, fighting in Mexico City, obviously the Mexican crowd is going to be cheering for him. I think this is his fight to win.
I agree. I think that Bobby Green is I think rather Daniel Zellhuber is more in line for a knockout. Usually I feel like he's a decision machine. This is a night that I see him getting a knockout.
Yeah.
I feel like that big long mug freaking throwing them kicks, them round strikes, that elusivity can be a problem. That lateral movement. I could just see a head kick KO.
And he has some nasty head kicks, like those long legs. Like, he snaps that kick very fast.
Yeah.
So Bobby's definitely gonna have to be on his P's and Q's, because it could be a pretty bad night if it goes south. But
For sure.
I'm excited for this next fight. It's the co-main event. We have Marlon Cheeto Vera versus David the Doctor Martinez. I don't know if that's his nickname, but he is a doctor, so thought I just wanted to mention that. I love Cheeto. He's exciting. He's a fun guy. He looks cool.
Most finishes in bantamweight. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hanging out with Action Bronson. He's a legend, you know. He's got style. He's always dressed fresh as hell. Um, but he's on a skid, you know.
Yeah.
That's a hobby fight. I thought in the first round he looked great. Like the pace that he was putting on in that first round, he could have won that fight. And then it's like he just let Zahabi get back into the fight. And, you know, I know he was upset. He walked out before they even announced, you know, who won. I just thought that, you know, you're fighting a Canadian in Canada. You got
Yeah.
to put more
Yeah.
pressure on him. You got to finish this guy. Don't even make it competitive. And Cheeto just kind of let it be competitive. So,
And now he's fighting a
I feel,
Mexican in Mexico.
yeah, I feel like this is the same situation. Like, you know, whatever. Don't think about that last fight. Just fix the mistake. Go in there with pressure. But it's not going to be an easy feat because David Martinez, this guy is extremely fast. He's got power. So far, he's looked extremely well-rounded everywhere. And I like watching this guy fight just as much as I like watching Cheeto fight. So I think this is a banger. This is one of those, if you don't know, now you know, like Dana White likes to say. And yeah, I don't have a prediction for this one. I'm just gonna be sitting on the couch, drinking a beer or something, watching this because it should be a good fight.
I think David Martinez decision. I don't see a world where he finishes Cheeto, and
Mhm.
as you said, fighting in Mexico, and a guy who notoriously gives up round one is because he's a slow starter. That's just not a good combination.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
see Martinez decision, and I hate it for Cheeto. I love Cheeto. Cheeto's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not mad at that, man. I could see it going that way. You know, if Cheeto isn't aggressive enough, I can see, you know, the judges giving it to Martinez as well. But I guess we'll have to wait until Saturday to see. It's time for the main event. We have Brandon Moreno, the assassin baby, versus Lonnie Kavanagh. How do you feel this fight's gonna go?
I'm excited about it. I'm excited. I think if Lonnie has learned from that knockout that he just suffered, then this is gonna be his night. I
Mhm.
think that he's skill for skill is better than Moreno. Maybe not in the wrestling. I think Moreno's probably got him there, but I think he's better everywhere. So this could be Lonnie's night, especially in the
Yeah.
striking. But it's the cardio is the only concern. I think Moreno could be on the downhill.
Mm-hmm.
So say Lonnie KO.
Lonnie KO. I like it, man. I pretty much have the same read. I think that I love Brandon Moreno. He's exciting to, you know, watch fight. It kind of sucks. Most of his career has been rematches against Davison Figueiredo, but you know that Pantoja fight was a banger. I mean, all his fights are bangers. Let's not, you know,
Yeah.
lie. But I just think that after watching him when he fought Tyra, you know, the way that Tyra took his back and was just landing those shots to the side of the head
Bombs.
unanswered, it wasn't a good look, you know. And I know that he's had a decent amount of time to recover from that. It's not like he went out cold, but I just think he's going against another guy with, you know, nasty power. Obviously, Lonnie's not going to try to grapple with him like Tyra did, but I just don't know if Brandon Moreno is going to be able to keep the pace that Lonnie's going to be able to keep. And obviously, Lonnie is going to not make the same mistake that he did against Charles Johnson. He's going to be a little bit more defensively sound this time. And I can see Lonnie making this a very technical striking match. I can see Lonnie winning by decision, honestly, because Moreno is tough. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, Lonnie does crack him on the chin and put him out. But I'm excited for it. I think it's a banger fight. And that's UFC Mexico. But I will say, speaking of Mexico, let's go into our MMA news. Right now, Mexico is on fire.
Yeah, a
Um,
little bit.
You know, thankfully the UFC and the Mexican army are keeping the fighters safe. They're making sure that these guys are not out alone by themselves. And it kind of sucks to see all this going on in Mexico right now. It's a shitty situation. It sucks that the UFC just happened to be there when all this, just popped off. But
Like the
what are
week
your thoughts on
before.
it?
It's the week before. That's insane. The timing. You can't write this. This stuff
Yeah.
just it happens. And
Yeah, man.
it's definitely. I hope the only things we see popping off are happening in the ring. I hope everyone gets home safely with only just a little minor brain damage from concussions. I don't want a decision card like last
Yeah, for sure.
week.
Hopefully, everybody stays safe. Everything's kosher. Hopefully, there's no, anything crazy happening. And, hopefully the UFC and fighters get out of there safely and get back to their families. But next thing on the MMA news, Conor Benn has signed with Zuffa Boxing. Obviously not MMA news, but it's UFC related. And I say that because a lot of fighters are upset that
Yeah, it's stirring the pot for sure.
that he has reportedly signed for a $15 million deal, which is more than most fighters. I'm not even gonna say most. Almost every fighter, maybe besides John Jones, is making in the UFC for a fight. So I've seen a couple of fighters give their opinions on it. Michael Venom Page, Sean O'Malley, just to name a few. But how do you feel about this? What do you think the UFC is going to do as far as their fighters being unhappy about this signing and the amount of money that Conor Benn is getting paid?
I think they're gonna just try and look the other way. They're just gonna hear their kids bicker about it and be like it's a necessary evil, because the reality is they're wanting to monopolize combat sports, and in order to do that they need to corner the boxing market, and you need big name boxers to do that. Not that I've even heard of Conor Benn, but apparently that's someone of some repertoire in the boxing world. They felt that they needed to throw $15 million at to get some traction going in there, because they had that one Irish boxer that they had trying to launch it off, and apparently he lost or made it close. I didn't even watch it, so I don't know. I'm speaking on it too much, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely, I think, crazy. Either way, they need to pay the UFC fighters more,
Yeah, it's
or maybe
Callum
don't,
Walsh.
because then it becomes like this.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's Callum Walsh that you're talking
Callum
about.
Walsh, yeah.
He's still with the UFC or with Zuffa or not Zuffa, but Dana's. He's still signed or whatever, and he's still on a winning streak. So I'm sure he'll be
Okay.
fighting in Zuffa. But obviously, when he got close with Dana, this was very early in his career, so he's probably not at the level that Conor Benn is yet. But it's still something that the fighters, definitely need to pay attention to. And I do think that they should make their voices heard because, when you sign a $7 billion contract with a new production company, that money needs to go to the fighters. And so far, these UFC fighters don't seem like they're getting, insanely inflated numbers like, they should be. So we'll see what happens with that. But in other news, McGregor at the White House. He's been on social media talking about how he wants a contract. UFC, stop ignoring him. Give him a contract. There's some rumors that he's fighting Carlos Prates. There's I don't know, man. I feel like I'm burnt out with Conor because I loved watching Conor fight. I loved the press conferences. He knows how to sell a fight. But when the whole Michael Chandler situation was going on, it just kind of got redundant. Like Conor
We
was
didn't
calling
even get the
everybody.
Connor effect through that.
Yeah,
Through
but Conor
before he pulled out,
Conor was just calling everybody out after, and I don't know, it kind of got old really fast. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
No, I definitely I think Connor, I think that he gets spanked his next fight, if I'm being honest. So I'm
Mhm.
ready for that to kind of just happen, so that way it's like we can move on from it.
Yeah.
He out of his last what was it, 5 fights. He's lost 4 of them. I thought, I
Yeah,
personally, controversially, I think that he would have lost to Michael Chandler.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to see Connor lose. I do want to see him come back and win. I think he's great for the UFC. He's exciting. He knows how to talk on the mic. He's always going to be a big draw. Um, I just don't want him to fight Carlos Prates. I just think that's a very bad matchup at 170. It just doesn't seem like it's what's best for his career, but who knows? Maybe the UFC wants to just give him Carlos Prates and they hope that Prates goes out there and knocks him out and then they can just kind of let him go do what he wants to do with bare knuckle and, focus on his other business ventures. But enough about the White House. We have UFC Miami coming up. April. I'm excited for this card. I should be there, barring anything crazy. But I'm excited for this card. We have Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira as the co-main event, and apparently ESPN they made a mistake. They posted on their official page that the main event is going to be a light heavyweight title fight. So is that going to be not Hamzat Chimaev? Is that going to be Alex Pereira? Or there's rumors that Yuri might be fighting against Olberg for a vacated belt. I mean, hell, I've even seen rumors that Yuri and Chimaev are going to fight for the vacated belt. So who really knows? But what do you think about this?
I think in regards to the card, super stack card. At least everything I'm seeing that's been confirmed rolling out is just bangers so far. I think that's pretty safe bet. They're gonna go the light heavyweight title route for that card as the main event. I'm excited to see what that entails because it very well could be if it's Chimaev moving up. While I do wish that he would defend his belt especially with how inactive he is before he pursues double champ status, but I would love to see him fight Yuri. Like, what? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that would be a banger fight. Even if it's Hamzat and Alex Pereira, like if Alex doesn't move up and vacate the belt, if they just let Hamzat move up and fight for the title, I think that's a banger fight too. That's an exciting one.
Yeah, I mean, if obviously Yuri fighting Hamzat would mean that Alex moved up, so that's another having your cake and eat it too, because then now you have Alex possibly pursuing triple champ status.
Right.
That's so that's the most exciting thing. I just don't feel like that's the most deserving thing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. Well, now that we've gone over all the MMA news, that was episode 3. We hope that you enjoyed the Angel Pacheco interview. Hopefully you get some insight from our breakdowns. I'm excited to talk about, the results of this card next week. And please like and subscribe. It helps us a lot get this channel bigger. Follow us on Instagram at UFC Zach or UFC Pap. Our channel on Instagram for the pod is the Corner Talk MMA. Thank you for watching. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And we will see you next week.
This is Corner Talk.